Colts, again, favored. I feel like they're favorites to win the division every year. And as I mentioned in the open, they haven't won the division since 2014. So continually disappointing those very elevated expectations. Had high expectations when they had brought in Phillip Rivers, and then certainly had high expectations last year, even though, again, there was some skepticism around Carson Wentz like there is this year, but even more so this year. But again, they traded at least one number one pick for him last year. So they're certainly invested in him and bailed after one year. And I feel like it really comes down to this last game versus the Jags. I feel like everything about the Colts, I think Carson Wentz's entire career almost has been defined by this game.
Obviously, horrible look. But that's something that almost regardless of what he does now, like he's viewed through that prism of week 18.
And basically this entire season is Carson Wentz is to blame.
Oh yeah,
that's kind of like the narrative. Yeah,
they scapegoated him hard, and even if you believe he deserved a lion's share of the criticism, it's just we want to make an investment in here, and then you don't even give it a chance to really play out.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Something I love about this volatility chart is we can almost actually tell the narrative we've just illustrated through this trend line, which is that the Colts start off pretty poorly, and they actually finish the season really strong. So if you're a bettor, or the people who are the general sentiment that's comprising this analysis, and it doesn't go the way you're kind of predicting, you're going to place the blame on the quarterback. You're going to say, we thought this team was actually a top 5, top 6 team. They lost to the 32nd best team. And who are you going to blame? You're going to blame the quarterback, right? Instead of saying, we were wrong. Our analysis was maybe a little off. It's the quarterback's fault.
Just like anything, when you're kind of meeting somebody, like a very bad first impression, and first impressions kind of last, and then certainly how you leave the conversation. And I feel like, so these are like the two huge sticking points that are actually causing a distortion of Carson Wentz. If we're saying that this wasn't just Carson Wentz, that means it was something else as well, that there's cracks kind of elsewhere on this team. That means that why they don't justify such kind of elevated expectations as we kind of go into 2022. But again, there were some impressive games that we see here. This one, they were really beating up on Baltimore, and then lost that one in the final kind of minutes. Blew out Buffalo, beat the Patriots by 10.
They hung in there damn good with the Bucks.
That's right.
Late in the year.
Wow, I don't even really remember this, but really, got all the way up to about fourth.
Yeah. That was an impressive loss.
Actually, you make a good point too, Judah, around, so they had to dig themselves out of an 0-3 hole, right off the bat. 1-4 after Baltimore. And so start off, really sluggish. And then, this team actually, kind of was playing their best football near the end of the season. They just had to dig themselves out of the hole and then, kind of finish with a game that they needed to win, and then just didn't. But it was that start and end that really, really hurt them. Look at this, man. Were they popular team from a betting perspective? Top 5 pick for 8 weeks out of the season. So the betting market was certainly on top of them. And just another point to highlight around how strong their midseason was look at some of these max leads. It looks like almost in every single game midseason,
they had at least a 2-score
double-digit lead.
Yeah.
And again, they ended up giving up some of them and losing to the Titans after having a 14-point lead, losing to the Ravens after having a 19-point lead, squeaking out some after having a big lead. Jags had a 17-point lead, only won by 6. Had a 10-point lead to the Bucks, as we talked about, ended up losing that one. Was up by 20 versus the Patriots, just won by 10. So a lot of intra-game volatility. So of course the offseason changes, obviously led by Matt Ryan. Also signed, Stephon Gilmore, again a little bit old, and then Yannick Ngakoue, certainly a rushing the passer specialist.
Yeah,
that was certainly a big weakness of theirs last year as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say they absolutely need pass rushers. It felt like every Colts game I watched, they weren't even breathing on any quarterback.
Yeah.
First off, this is certainly the least continuity of any team we've seen.
Yes.
Lots and lots of changes. And also they lost their defensive coordinator to your Bears. And I think he's actually one of the more underrated defensive coordinators in the league. The team played a ton of zone. They were top 10 in zone rate And that's kind of a question mark. And they lost basically all of their secondary guys, and the ones they did return, Isaiah Oliver and some of the coverage stuff that I'm doing, this is the second worst corner in all of football. Behind Bryson Faxon, he's a bottom 15 guy. So a lot of questions in the secondary. It's a new unit in a new scheme, very uncertain.
Yeah, I mean, and how good is this wide receiver group?
I like
number one.
Yeah, I do like Michael Pittman.
Paris Campbell showed flashes, but he always gets hurt.
Yeah, he's like a Percy Harvin type.
And then I mean, Alec Pierce, potential rookie from Cincinnati.
I think he's going to be a big part of what they're going to try to do, because like we said, like the guys they have behind Michael Pittman are just
because they have no option. They have no other choice to.
They're just very blah. It's going to be a ton of Jonathan Taylor, and then hopefully one of those guys that we just named can do their fair share next to Michael Pittman.
Yeah, and then again, Matt Ryan versus an otherwise an offensive line that isn't nearly as good as kind of we think it is. And yeah, again, just looking at the overall continuity of this team from an offensive and defensive perspective, I mean, basically the starters are cut in half. So moving on to 2022, again, expected to win 10 games. Division odds -120. Odds to make the playoffs, apparently a slam dunk at -175. To win the Super Bowl, +2,500. Pythag 2.0 model does not like them. Third easiest schedule, so that's the opening. Net rest -5 days, mean spread around 2 points.
Bettors are really. I just saw a tweet earlier this week from Action Network that the Colts are actually the most bet on team to win the Super Bowl. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I don't. Even if they make the playoffs, I don't like them beating any AFC West team.
Yeah, because I mean, this easiest schedule, the proxy to play that is not to win the Super Bowl. It's
just to get to the playoffs
or to win the division.
Where you better have a good thesis on this team actually being good, as opposed to just looking at their schedule.
Yeah.
I'm sure it looks easy now, but we really have no idea. Like, what's the spread going to be in Week 13 against the Cowboys? I can assure you it's not going to be what it's listed here.
Yeah. Strength of schedule is based on 32 narratives, all staying intact. I think another good point that we've actually kind of been talking about, but it's even reflected in these spreads, which is, I mean, they play the AFC West and they're an underdog in every single game.
Yep.
And this is ostensibly the best team in the division, but yet, meaningful underdogs, even an underdog at home versus the Chargers.
Look how many even pushes there are, like Titans, Pats, and Vikings. They're all coin flips.
Yeah, and I think kind of the bets that you guys talked about even at the beginning, kind of as we've walked through these teams, have only really strengthened those theses. Yeah. All right, good stuff, guys. That wraps up our 2022 market outlook for the AFC South. One of our favorite bets is kind of leaning a little bit over the Texans, certainly going under on the Titans. And then our Pythag 2.0 model likes the Jags.
Jaguars division.
6.5.
Yeah.
Ooh, and Duke's throwing in a bonus.
We've talked about how much we are underselling the Titans. I certainly am. The Colts seems to at least be more of a bearish than bullish take. Pythag 2.0 likes the Jaguars. I certainly like the Jaguars. Bet them +800 to win the division.
You're the Jaguar.
That's right.
He's the Jaguar. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. That's the closing bell. See you next week.